Hiya, just for the record, today's date, it's Friday the 27th of June 2008. Today we've come along to the Boat Museum at Ellesmere Port to look at a rather special vessel. This boat to my left is a box boat. And I'll be honest, I'm in my element, I can't describe how happy I am to be here. It was that type of vessel was used on the old Manchester, Bolton and Bury Canal, and it was 68 foot long. And what was special, it didn't have an engine, so you had to pull it by horses or an horse. And in its day, it held 10 coal containers carrying coal, so it was one of the earliest forms of containerisation. As you can see, this example was National Coal Board number 337. And what was special is they all had a number rather than a name. There were no cabins, and to see where you were going, you used an old fire bucket, and that helped you keep warm as well. But it's just incredible because every box boat we've seen on the canal has been sunk, and just to actually be up close to one what is floating is remarkable. And if I won the lottery, I'll buy another one. Hiya John, we're now looking at the box boat. As you can see there, you're a standing board where the steerer would steer the old boat, because obviously it's quite a deep boat for the coal containers. A chap would stand on there and then steer at the tiller at the back. What we're actually looking at now, incredibly, we're going to try and lift one of the old coal containers, which would be absolutely fascinating, because when did you see anything like this happening? This is amazing. I'm in my element. So we're going to attempt to lift one of these old coal boxes and maybe swing it over to the box boat. Absolutely fantastic. Amazing. You can actually see a coal container being lifted up, and that is absolutely magical. You can just about make out the cast iron doors, which are below the wooden coal container. So fantastic. What's going to happen now is the trap doors are being closed, and there should be a ratchet then what sort of pegs it in place. And at that now, it should be ready for lifting. There's no coal in there. You can imagine a long time ago that would have been full of coal, and this box would have been lifted up, would have been put over the boiler house, trap doors would have opened, and coal would have been discharged into its location. Absolutely incredible. Yeah, superb. That was absolutely superb. I've never seen it happen before, or we might not see it happen again, but we've captured it. And the essence of that is the workings of a coal container.
Hi, I'm Jim McKeown from the Boat Museum at Ellesmere Port. I'm Boat and Engineering Manager, and my job basically is to look after the fleet of boats that we own. The whole collection is about 80 boats, ranging from sort of coracles up to a 265 tonne coastal vessel that we have in the lower basin. Because we've got 80 boats, it's also the greatest asset, it's also our greatest liability as well, because they need a vast amount of money to keep them in anything like good condition. To which end the museum has just finished a sort of league table of the vessels that we've got in terms of their historical worth, what story we can tell using the vessels to illustrate the history of canals, their developments of transport. The result of which is that we've got a number of flagship vessels at the top of the list, a great pile of vessels in the middle of the list, and then fragments and parts of vessels and ones which are probably a bit beyond redemption at the bottom of the list. The next stage is to basically find some funding for the flagship vessels, for which we're probably going to approach HLF, Heritage Lottery Fund, for a fair amount of money to restore or conserve some of those flagship vessels. The rest of the vessels on the sort of middle of the list What we're looking for are innovative ways to use them, to get them back out on the canal system again, and for potentially other organisations to take them on, to look after them and to fund them with some input and assistance from the museum and the Inland Waterways heritage organisations generally. We're working closely with Historic Ships Unit, we're working with Historic Motorboat Owners Club and various other groups of individuals and enthusiasts that look after historic boats. It's going to be, how can we say, an emotive process and a bit of a heart-wrenching process, because it will actually involve the disposal of some of the vessels, either to organisations or, as an absolute last resort, if we can't find a home for them, we will then have to record them and scrap them, which isn't going to be popular with an awful lot of people. However, there is no way really that we can sustain the full collection of boats in anything like a fully restored condition. Nobody is going to give us the money for that, and there is, at this stage of the game, really no chance of us generating that money. So the process we've embarked upon, we believe, is the right thing to go with.
If you don't mind me asking, where does the box boat fall into that? Is it more up the list, or?
The box boat is on the list of middle vessels,
right.
And as it's one of the ones in slightly better condition and is being looked after by the Boat Museum Society, we feel that we will spend some money on that in conjunction with the Boat Museum Society and potentially other groups, to restore the box boat to usable condition. The aim would be then to get it out and about on the system. To illustrate the developers of boat building, because it is a relatively straightforward boat and is only really one step removed from the starvations that were used in Worsley mines on the Bridgewater, and also because it's a very early form of containerisation. The load is carried in boxes in the boat rather than actually dumped in the boat and shoveled out. So mechanical handling was in use to both load and unload the boxes.
And if you don't mind me asking, do you enjoy your job?
I do enjoy my job most of the days, yes.
Yeah.
It's becoming a little bit emotive in that we see that we have to dispose of boats with which I've been associated for sort of 20 odd years having worked here. But the 20 years that we have worked here has taught us the lesson that we will not be able to sustain all the boats that we actually own. That is the one thing that's become apparent over the years of the museum's existence, that we cannot keep everything.
No. Thanks for that. Thanks for speaking to us again. And hiya, Norman's kindly come down here to talk about a little bit about the Friends of the Boat Museum, but also the Friends of the Box Boat. I'll hand you over to Norman.
Hello there. The Boat Museum first began in the early 1970s. Newmin, the Northwest Museum of Inland Navigation, was a volunteer body looking for a home for their boats. This derelict canal port at Ellesmere Port was owned by the New Borough Council of Ellesmere Port and Neston in 1974, and the two came together. The Ellesmere Port wanted to do something with this historic site. The Telford warehouse had burnt down, the arched warehouse, in 1970, and the value of the site then became apparent and how vulnerable it was and so on. And Newmin brought their boats to this site, and so the two together, the Borough Council bringing in derelict land grant, money from the English Tourist Board, all sorts of job creation, all sorts of things like that, and the volunteers bringing their boats together to restore them on the site. And since that time the museum has gone under many changes, and it's now operated by the Waterways Trust, who control Stoke Bruin Museum, the museum at Gloucester, and the BWB archive, and this site here at Ellesmere Port. Newmin, the original society, changed its name to the Boat Museum Society, and still has, and is still busy to this day, restoring craft and taking boats elsewhere around the canal system. Boat Museum Society own Gifford and Worcester, and the rest of the collection here is under the care of the Waterways Trust. Within the Boat Museum Society we have several subgroups, one looking after Gifford and so on, and we've formed a separate subgroup to rebuild the 2 surviving boxes that go into the box boat that's within the museum collection. We intend to, we're already surveying the boxes and detailed notes and so on, and we're about to order the timber and the bolts, the proper bolts, and all the correct equipment to restore them in the traditional manner. And after those 2, we hope to build new boxes, so that in an ideal world eventually we'll have the full 10 boxes to go in the boat, the 8 going crossways and 1 longitudinally at each end, to fill the 69-foot box boat that we have within the collection. Probably the last or the only floating box boat anywhere in Britain at the moment. Yes, the other box boat is sunk in the lower basin at the moment. Some say that they are best preserved underwater rather than floating. And it's certainly the case that several wooden boats that have been brought here and kept out of the water have rotted away. So perhaps it is the case that it is better preserved underwater. But it'd certainly be a long-term project to lift that second box boat and restore it.
And finally, it would be nice at some point in the future if the box boat could return to the Manchester Bolton Canal to be shown in a sort of its home territory, you might say. Or...
Well, in the 1970s, the rescue of boats from around the canal system was very much a firefighting exercise. They had to be rescued. There weren't the volunteer societies around. And already this, the return of boats to their home is already happening. The Tom Pudding has gone back to the waterways on the east coast now, and there are other boats. There's a steam dredger here that the Hampshire Basingstoke Canal enthusiasts would like back. So yes, it is an aspiration of the museum that a lot of these boats would return eventually, have it to their original canals. Yes.
And finally, is there any plans to resurrect the Sarah Lansdale icebreaker? The Sarah Lansdale was unfortunately substantially destroyed by fire, though the ironwork remains. It is very expensive to restore a wooden boat. We know almost to the penny what it costs these days, because Gifford and Saturn have both been restored. And you've got to be able to seek funding in the region of £100,000 to restore a wooden boat completely these days. That's a realistic figure. But if you can find the match funding and make the appropriate lottery grants or seek funding elsewhere, then yeah, all these things are possible. It's simply a matter of funding. Thanks for speaking to us, Norman.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate that. Thanks for giving your time up today.
Not at all, any time.
Thank you.
Okay.